In Pokrovsk, Ukraine rescued a captured soldier, boosting morale and repelling Russian attacks.
Today's development on the battlefield was recorded as a critical turning point that provided a breath of relief amid weeks of heavy fighting and reminded the world of the character of the Ukrainian army. Because the 425th Skelia Separate Assault Regiment, operating on the Pokrovsk line during reconnaissance activities, detected a shelter concealed by Russian forces and, the moment they realized a Ukrainian soldier was being held inside, acted without hesitation. Despite all the fatigue and risks of war, they successfully extracted the soldier alive, unharmed, and safely. The significance of this event is not merely about one individual being rescued. On the contrary, this operation became a display of strength that changed the morale of hundreds of soldiers on the front line, shifted the psychological advantage entirely to Ukraine, and sent a global message even in the harshest days of combat. No soldier will be left behind. The beginning of the operation was extremely ordinary. The reconnaissance unit was performing routine sweeps when they noticed a shelter dug underground, normally used for supplies or accommodation, being hidden to an extraordinary degree. The first signs were already suspicious. The activity at the entrance of the shelter and the sounds coming from inside indicated that the Russians were hiding something special, not just an ordinary storage. It did not take long for the truth to emerge. A Ukrainian soldier was inside, and the occupiers were preparing to move him to another location. At that very moment, the reflex of the Skelia regiment became evident. No one said, "Let's wait." No one said, "Let things calm down." No one said, "The conditions are harsh, the risk is great." The decision was made instantly: go in, enter, and retrieve the soldier. And that is exactly what happened. The assault team entered the shelter with a rapid maneuver, neutralized the Russian soldiers without leaving any time for retreat, and extracted the captured Ukrainian defender, safely moving him out of the combat zone. Operations like this generally require long-term planning, high coordination, and low risk. However, there was no time, no favorable conditions, no luxury to wait in the field today. The team's composure, discipline, and loyalty to the unit carried the operation to success. The expression on the rescued soldier's face summed up the entirety of the war. There was no emotional scene staged, no dramatic speech delivered. It was simply a moment in the midst of war that demonstrated how far a human being can go for another human being. And this moment changed the morale of the entire unit on the Pokrovsk line. As soon as the operation ended, a visible surge in morale occurred in the area. Soldiers embraced each other. Commanders exchanged brief salutes. No one celebrated loudly, yet everyone felt the same thing. Today, this unit managed to light a spark in the darkest moments of war. The key factor defining today's atmosphere was that such an operation occurred amidst an enormous burden on the front. On the same day, the Ukrainian army was engaged in 107 different clashes. This number points to one of the most intense days of the war. Russia exerted continuous pressure on the Pokrovsk direction, attempting to break through the line and push back the defense. The artillery bombardment did not stop. Airstrikes continued relentlessly. Rocket systems remained active throughout the day. Yet, despite this, Ukrainian forces not only held the defense, they successfully completed a critical rescue operation on the same day. This contrast alone explains the morale surge observed today. A depiction emerged of an army that, instead of being crushed under the weight of the war, drew strength from it. The units in Pokrovsk were already under heavy fire throughout the day, so much so that some positions faced the risk of being taken several times. Yet no critical point fell. Russia attacked, Ukraine defended, and amid the defense, a rescue operation turned the entire day's balance in favor of Ukraine. The northern Slobojanshchina and Kursk regions were the two main axes where attacks intensified today. Russian forces attempted to advance twice, but both attempts were detected and stopped early by Ukrainian defense. Russia intensified airstrikes in this area. Guided bombs, multiple rocket launchers, electronic jamming, everything they could deploy was used. Yet despite the use of all this force, the same result emerged across the line. Russia could not advance. This resistance demonstrates not only Ukraine's defensive power, but also its intelligence and coordination capabilities. Russian attacks are no longer random. They are focused on specific points, attempting to strain the borderline and break the front. Yet Ukraine's order remained intact. Because this order was not disrupted, the rescue operation carried out in Pokrovsk became a shining success story amidst the chaos of the day. The common factor in clashes in 4 different regions today was this. The Russian army attempted attacks from various directions to increase pressure, but nowhere did they achieve the desired outcome. In Vovchansk, only one attack attempt occurred, and it was immediately suppressed. Clashes continued in the Kupiansk direction, but the defensive line was not broken. In Lyman, 4 attacks were made, 3 completely stopped, and 1 neutralized through tactical countermeasures. In the Sloviansk direction, 5 attack attempts were made, but in none could Russian forces breach the defensive line. According to soldiers in these regions, the biggest difference of the day was not the strength of the defense, but the complete shift in morale, because retrieving 1 soldier created sudden, fresh energy, even amid weeks of fatigue. In the soldiers' own words, when you pull 1 person back, the whole unit wins. Today, it was not only Pokrovsk. Other critical points in the Donetsk region were also under serious pressure. The Kramatorsk and Kostiantynivka lines in particular became among the fiercest areas of Russian advancement attempts. Russian forces launched intensive attacks toward Chasiv Yar, deploying small tactical groups supported by infantry, but Ukrainian defense controlled this area as well. The situation on the Kostiantynivka line was even more striking. The Russian army launched 12 attacks here. This number alone is enough to understand how much pressure one line was under during the day. In most attacks, Russian forces tried to reposition, probe for weak points, and test the defensive lines. Nonetheless, they could not breach Ukraine's established positions. Of these 12 attacks, only 2 continued in minor contact by the end of the day. The others were completely stopped, and that is precisely why the Pokrovsk rescue operation gave soldiers the instant feeling, we are the ones establishing the balance. Because when so many areas are under simultaneous pressure, rescuing 1 soldier sends a powerful message to everyone on the front. It shows the image of an army that values not only fighting, but also solidarity and loyalty. Now let us return to the hottest point of the day, the Pokrovsk region. The 36 attacks carried out by the Russian army in this area alone are enough to convey the full severity and weight of the day. Imagine, a unit under the same line is attacked 36 times in a day. Artillery does not stop. Aerial pressure continues. Russian infantry waves keep coming. Yet the defense never falters. Of these 36 attacks, 30 were completely repelled. No critical positions changed hands. No Ukrainian unit was pushed back. The southern front was not idle today either. 3 regions were particularly noteworthy. Oleksandrograd here, the Russian army attempted 10 attacks. The Ukrainian defense stopped all attempts and did not allow the line to bend. Hulaypolye. This area has recently become one of the points where Russia tries to increase pressure. Today, 10 attacks were completely repelled, and 4 clashes continued until the evening. Orkiv airstrikes were intense along the Orkiv line, especially in areas hit by guided bombs from Russian aircraft. Yet the defense did not collapse. The common point of these 3 regions is simple. Russia attacks, Ukraine stops. Russia tries to advance, Ukraine does not yield. This balance further emphasizes the significance of the Pokrovsk rescue operation. Because rescuing a soldier on a day when the entire front is under such pressure is not an ordinary success. It means complete moral superiority has been achieved in the midst of war. It must be acknowledged, during heavy combat days, operations generally have limited emotional impact. Soldiers and commanders focus more on strategy, the condition of positions, and the intensity of attacks. However, the impact of this operation was entirely different. This operation was not only a military success, but also a significant symbol in terms of humanity, loyalty, and collective will. There is one sentence soldiers say within their units: "We do not leave each other behind." This sentence is not propaganda. This sentence is not a slogan. This sentence is based on a real event on the field today. And this reality means the Ukrainian army strengthens unit spirit, morale, and resilience, not only by holding positions, but also by protecting each other. When one soldier is brought back alive, the whole unit is lifted. When one person survives, hundreds of soldiers think, if necessary, the same will be done for me. This is why an invisible celebration occurred today within Ukrainian units. Internal, quiet, but very powerful. This feeling is the very motivation that will sustain the defense despite the harshness of war in the days ahead.